Friends, now we are going to see about animal tissues. So, what are the animal tissues? The tissues. What is a tissue particularly? The tissues are nothing but a group of same type of cells, we call it as tissue. And the study of tissues we call it as histology. So, let's see into the tissues. So, the tissues are the group of specialized cells that work together for a particular function. In humans, the combination of different types of tissue make up the organs. Means different types of tissues will form the organs. So if you are not sure about this, go back to the structural organization again back. So starting from the cell, tissues, organ system, all these things is been explained in my channel. Okay. And group of organs work together, we call it as organ system. So we have four types of tissues. One is epithelial tissue, other one is connective tissue, third one nervous tissue, and the fourth one muscle tissue. Coming to the first, we are going to see about epithelial tissue. So the epithelial tissue covers the body surfaces, nothing but skin, and the lining of organs are epithelial tissues. Epithelial tissue, epi means above. So those are which are lining covering the body surfaces. So the name itself shows the meaning. Plays a role in absorption, secretion, and protection against the foreign substances. Coming to the first type of the epithelium, simple columnar epithelium. Simple means it has only one layer. Columnar, all the cells are columnar in nature, means elongated in nature. Epithelium which covers the surfaces. Simple, right? So the cells of the simple columnar epithelium. So this arrows are been showing these are the columnar cells. Are taller. As their name suggests, the tissue is usually associated with secretion or absorption and most often found in the linings of the digestive tract, and the section as shown here is from an amphibian. Okay, and the next, simple squamous epithelium. So simple means we all know it is made up of single layer. Squamous means flat. So simple squamous epithelial tissue is composed of flat, scale-like cells. It lines the walls of blood vessels, pulmonary alveoli. So as shown in the figure, this is the pulmonary alveoli and this is the simple squamous epithelium. And the lining of the heart, lungs and peritoneal lining, cavities. And next, simple cuboidal epithelium. Here also the name itself says, I think you got the point now. Simple means single layer, cuboidal means the cells are cubical epithelium. So the tissue is composed of single layer of boxy cells. So this arrows will predict these are cubical in nature. So it lines the walls of kidney tubules. In describing the epithelium, the term simple means one celled layer. Yes. And coming to the next, ciliated epithelium. Here also, again the name itself says the epithelium has the presence of cilia. Some epithelial membranes are made up of the cells with cilia, tiny projections that beat in a uni fashion to move the mucus along the surface. So the ciliated epithelium is found in trachea. For example, sweep debris of the respiratory tract. So in order to take the cough like that things. So whatever the phlegm we get through the cough is from the ciliated epithelium, pushing of the ciliated epithelium. The tissue lines the larger respiratory passage. So it is often called ciliated. So this arrows have been suggesting these are the ciliate, this colored part. And next, muscle cells. So muscle is a contractile tissue. These are three types of muscles: skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle and smooth muscle based on the location. First, skeletal muscle. The skeletal muscle is distinguishable by its striations, means lines, and its long unbranched multinucleated cells or fibers. So the striations are due to the arrangement of myosin and actin filaments. Along the length of the fiber, the skeletal muscle is attached to the bone and is responsible for voluntary movement. When signaled to contract, all the fibers in a particular bundle will contract. So the number and size of the bundles involved determine the strength of the contraction. For example, if we want to lift 1 kg of the weight, so less number of fibers are enough. If we want to lift 5 kgs of weight, more number of fibers has to be contracted. Then only we can able to give the strength and power. And next, so coming to the picture of the skeletal muscle, the striations are visible and each fiber runs the entire length of the muscle. Nuclei can be found around the cell periphery, means around the cell we can find the nuclei, so which is a multinucleated. And next, cardiac muscle. The name itself says cardiac means heart. So these muscles are present inside the heart. So the cardiac muscle makes up the wall of the heart and is also striated in nature. The cells are branched and usually contain only one nucleus, so which is quite opposite to skeletal muscle. Cardiac muscle fibers are being composed of number of cardiac cells. Adjacent muscles are held together by intercalated disc. So because of this disc only, if the nerve impulse is being stimulated at the SA node, so all the conduction will pass to the overall muscle, overall heart, because of this intercalated disc nature only. So it follows the principle of all or none. So at each disc, the cell membranes of the cardiac muscle cells are intertwined, means fused, and held together by a gap junctions. Because of these connections, impulses spread quickly through the muscular wall of each chamber. So this is the picture of the cardiac muscle. Striations are evident. We can see the straight lines. Striations are evident, as well as intercalated disc. The light bands between the cells in each cells are the intercalated. So we can see these are the intercalated disc. Nervous tissue. The nervous tissue, which occurs throughout the body, receives and transmits the stimuli. It converts a stimuli, whether chemical or physical in nature, into an electrical impulse. It is conducted by neurons. The neurons are also called it as nerve cells, are the functional unit of the nervous system. So this is the picture of the neuron. A neuron consists of cell body, dendrites and axon. Dendrites will carry the impulses to the cell body, whereas axon will transmit the impulses towards the another cell body or an effector, a muscle or an organ that respond to the impulses. So in this picture we can able to see these are the dendrites, and the center we call it as cell body or perikaryon, because the nucleus is present on the top of the cell. Because of that we also call it as cell body or perikaryon, and this is the axon. So dendrites will give the impulses to the cell body, and from the cell body it is being transmitted to the organ or whatever the thing to the axon. Axons. Axons are usually much longer than the dendrites, sometimes reaching a meter in length. Many axons are enclosed in an insulating lipid layer which we call it as myelin sheet. For example, if it is a normal copper wire, we cannot, even though the copper wire is transmitting the electricity, we cannot put alone the copper wire. We need certain plastic insulation. Here, the insulation it will be acted by myelin sheet. This sheet is produced by squamous cells, a type of supporting cells for the nervous system. The sheet not only protects the axons but also allow the impulses to move more quickly along the tissue to make up the nerves. So, along the axon. The axons are arranged in a rope-like bundle wrapped in a connective tissue which make up the nerves. So, the nerves carry sensory impulses to the brain and transmit the motor impulses from the brain to effector organ. So, the nerves that make up the peripheral nervous system brings the impulses from the entire body to the spinal cord, when then transmits them to the brain. So the spinal cord and brain are the central nervous system. Connective tissue. The connective tissue differs from the other tissues in that it can large amount of intercellular matrix will be there. So the connective tissue function to bind other tissue together, provide support, provide nourishment, store waste or repair damaged tissues. So coming to the loose connective tissue, the loose connective tissue has few fibers which we call made up of collagen protein fibers, a number of cell types and large amount of matrix. It functions to bind the epithelia to underlying tissue. And next, blood. Blood is considered a connective tissue because it has an extracellular matrix which we call it as plasma. The liquid matrix is made up of water, salts, nutrients and as an assortment of dissolved proteins suspended in the matrix of two types of cells, erythrocytes and leukocytes, as well as a specialized fragments called platelets that functions in the clotting of the blood. And first, erythrocytes, RBC. So RBC in humans are flattened disc because the cells lack a nucleus. The pigment hemoglobin, which gives the blood its red color, bind to the oxygen. So the RBC are responsible for transporting oxygen to all the cells of the body. So these are the RBCs. Whatever in this picture we see is the RBCs. And these are WBCs. It has the nucleus, right? In the remaining cells, we don't have the nucleus and flat in shape. And next, leukocytes. White blood cells function mostly in fighting diseases. Some of them move through the walls of the blood vessels and enter the body tissue to engulf the bacteria. There are 5 types of white blood cells: neutrophils, lymphocytes, monocytes, eosinophils, and basophils. Neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils are granulocytes. So neutrophils, eosinophils, these three are granulocytes. Lymphocytes and monocytes are agranulocytes, means nothing but presence of granule in the cytoplasm, we call it as granulocytes. Absence of the granules in the cytoplasm, we call it as agranulocytes. Thank you very much. Please do like, share, comment and subscribe to my channel.